Hey guys, what's up? As we know, Joe Biden is going to be the president soon. Kamala Harris is going to be the vice president. However, there are still two Senate seats that hang in the balance. These might be the two most important Senate seats in American history, and by that I just mean in my lifetime, and by that I just mean that I can remember. They are two incredibly important Senate seats. I do a lot of political content on my channel. I do a lot of political content screaming at people, shouting at people, and just in general shit posting and all that on the internet. However, I think it would be really cool if I could have, and more broadly, we could have some meaningful impact on the course of the American political machine known as Congress, more specifically the Senate, in these upcoming elections. I'm going to be going down to Atlanta on the 21st, and I'm going to see how many people want to come together to see if we can do any kind of canvassing. I don't really have any specific plans right now because I just really don't know how many people are showing up, but I've got a link below in this video to a subreddit post where if you live around Atlanta or in that area and you think you'd be interested in doing some type of canvassing or like a voter registration drive or some type of like political work to try to get more people out to vote in these two upcoming Senate runoff elections, make sure to show up. The location is going to be, it's a place called The Meadow, which is a park in Atlanta. I think there's parking across the street. Hopefully you can get there or you can figure something out. It's going to be on 3:30 at 3:30 p.m. on the 21st of this month. So like a few days from now. I'm not sure when exactly this video will be posted, but like pretty soon after this video. I don't know 100% like what type of plans I'll have for this particular like runoff election. This first meetup is literally just me seeing how many people I can get to show up so that I can see what kind of actions we're going to take going forward. If I go down and there's like 5 people there, we'll give each other hugs and we will high five each other and I'll be on my way. If I show up and I get like 10 to 20 people that are willing to actually go out and do some work, that would be amazing and awesome. And we could probably do something with that. If for nothing else, it'd be a fun stream project. And if I can get 50 or more people, I'm pretty sure that we can work with like some type of PAC to get like some meaningful movement out there in terms of like canvassing or voter registration drives or something. Everybody saw in this last election as we all like hovered over, you know, like the different counties on the maps and we watched the mail-in ballots come in. We've seen how important it is to get people out voting in these districts. And I think a lot of people have felt a little bit more involved in the political process when it actually comes time to go out and vote as well. So I think it'd be really cool if we could have like some small, meaningful, like a small but measurable and meaningful impact on some of these runoff elections. We've seen how like ultra thin this past election cycle has been. Joe Biden won by an electoral blowout, it looks like, but the reality is that it was probably, I think it's around 65,000 votes in different areas could have completely swung this the other way. The margins on all of these elections are razor thin. You know, some of these states weren't called until days after. And, you know, I think it would be really cool to be involved in this type of stuff, in going out and canvassing or, you know, doing real political advocacy on the ground, especially if some of these Senate runoff elections end up going one way or the other, you know, with like 1,000 vote margin or less, which is totally possible based on how close a lot of these states have been. So on the 21st, few days from now, about 3:30 p.m., we're going to be meeting in a park called The Meadow in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're there, show up, bring yourself, bring a friend, bring a mom, anybody that would be like willing to go out and canvass. We're not going to be doing anything on our first meeting. I really just want to go there and collect information to see who'd be willing to do like some type of long-term stuff. I say long-term over like the next couple weeks. Until these actual runoff elections occur. So yeah, we're not going to be canvassing or doing anything crazy the first time. Just show up if you're willing to do this kind of stuff. I'll take down some information so that I can keep in contact with everybody, and we'll set something up. I look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. Stay safe. We're going to be doing all the social distancing shit. Wear the fucking mask. Stay 2 meters or 6 feet apart if you're European or American. We're not getting sick here. I don't want to get sick from any of you fuckers. And yeah. I look forward to seeing as many of you show up as possible. Have fun. See you later. Peace out.
Are we talking about Georgia, or you just want me to give a lesson on how to canvass? What's the plan? And Dan, you're the boss man.
No, yeah. So brief overview. I read that little Politics is Power book. Pretty inspiring. Pretty cool. And makes me feel really bad because I have way more influence than the average person.
Yes,
and I have almost zero political power. I don't have like any, I've never enacted any type of political power before, really, aside from my singular vote. So yeah, I think it would be cool. Obviously this Georgia election is coming up. A lot of people, a lot of eyes are going to be on this election. And I think it would be cool somehow if we could do some sort of on the ground effort to flip some very small district in a meaningful way.
I agree. I think that would be a very interesting thing to do. It would be a first in history kind of like rapid development ground game, which I think is very possible with the size of this community, its political interest and ambition, and your leadership.
Yeah.
I think it's very doable. I think it's tragic that this kind of energy hasn't been used yet before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my generation is very doomer when it comes to
Agreed.
like political power. But I got ultra red pilled or black pilled on political power reading that book. It seems like there's a lot of political power out there for the taking. It's just
Yeah.
people generally don't really care about taking any of it.
So in this community, does this count as a win in our debate over political power? It being absolute?
Wait, what? Wait, what? What was our debate?
I,
Maybe?
no, like months ago, we debated like about how politicians were like trying to leverage power for like absolute usage and stuff like that, and you argued there was ideological influences, and politics wasn't so absolutely about power.
I mean, I'll give it to you if you want. I don't remember the context of the conversation, but yeah, sure.
I don't care.
I don't think the
People are, like,
average
saying
person
about
cares about political power whatsoever.
Okay.
But politicians, I think, care a lot about political power, right? It's all they do. It's why they vote the
agree.
way they do. And yeah. So yeah, that's something that I've changed my mind on pretty radically over the past like year and a half. I don't know where I was when we initially talked about this, but yeah.
Yeah.
I do know that I didn't necessarily agree with that. We had a conversation in an IHOP a long time ago where you told me, I think it was the second time we'd met, and you told me that you thought that politics was just a matter of securing power, and I don't think I was fully on board with it then.
Yes, that was the conversation I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't think I was fully on board with it then. But I also didn't really have a context of like, is that in the context of the average voter or the average politician or the average media person? Because I think everybody, has very different goals in that sense, right?
Of course.
Media people's goals are to have influence so that they can make more money, to have more influence, make more money. An individual is probably motivated largely by hobbyism, and then a politician is largely motivated by securing political power, I think. Yeah.
So what's your goal in this?
I think my goal would be to red pill people on how important and how easy it is to gather some amount of political power, to show people that you can make a difference in areas. And yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, it's simple. Like in one sentence, it would be to like, hey, look, there's political power out there. You can grab it and organize it, and you can make a difference. And that's the reason why I want to target like one particular district rather than, oh, hey, there were, 6 million votes in Georgia. We were 120 of them. Hooray. I think it would be more cool to be like, here is this one particular district. It was, like a +5 for Trump district, even after the last election. And now we made that like a +1 for Trump or like a +2 for whatever Democrat senator, Oslo or whatever the fuck name is. Yeah, district, yeah.
So we're not going to quite have that kind of exact one-to-one option because this is a statewide race.
Of course.
2 candidates on the ballot. So it's going to be a little more complicated than that. Further, most people seem to agree that although typically special elections, lower turnout, more about activating the base, less about convincing, probably this is going to be a very intense election.
For sure.
Yeah. I think, well, first instance being is what's your appetite and ambition? Like, do you want to... I think what we could do, at minimum, is there are several places that there's already like a handful of your members of your community that are on the ground in certain parts of Georgia. Obviously places you can guess, like the suburbs of Savannah, the suburbs of Atlanta, other places. I think would be interesting is if we were to activate the unique elements of your community and your personal charisma in those areas, along with potentially maybe some other key areas like around a university, a campus or two, which have several members of your community, and see if we can essentially, if there are people who might resemble like your community but aren't necessarily members of your community, and this is in the kind of voter profile.
Sure.
I think, and obviously due to a combination of geographic self-selection and urbanization, those people probably live near each other.
Sure. One thing that would be like really cool, something that I really want is it would be nice to pick an area where it'd be cool to have a measurable impact. That's kind of what I'm looking.
Or you want a clear KPI.
Yes. Yeah. So that people can see. When I talk about like winning a district or whatever, all I'm saying is that like when the voter maps are drawn and you see like how every district voted, like we can go by and we can look at like how like particular areas voted. So like if it was like the most effective thing, it'd be fine to like focus on like the really huge like big cities or whatever. But any impact we have there is going to be lost in the noise of everybody else that's going to be campaigning, I'm sure,
Well,
right?
no, yeah, no. I so with because of so one of the paths we could do is we could form a pack or parallel with the pack, take some voting, some turf, which is or canvas that turf and see if we can have a increase, which is all measured in clear KPIs through any kind of voter canvassing software like NGPVN, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And we could, through a clear KPI, see how many people we got to register to vote,
Mm-hmm.
said, I will come out and vote for Biden. I will vote for Ossoff and Warnock.
Mm-hmm.
We can see how many people maybe we convince. Because we can keep track of all of that if we have organized canvassers.
Yeah, that would
And
be
that's
sick as
something we
fuck.
can do.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, something we could do, we could organize an event that might uniquely activate people who might be more independent or more moderate, might not be registered to vote, but have some overlap and similarity between you or your community. We can register them to vote. Because again, Georgia, majority of people in Georgia voted. However, that's not everyone. Like this election is the Senate's going to come down to like probably like maybe on the high end like a couple thousand votes.
Sure.
And if we can register like 100 people to vote, that's gonna be something. That's gonna be like we registered X number of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a powerful KPI we can say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe this is it's gonna be a matter of scale. I think there's a minimum viable option we could do. That's gonna be very simple, very easy. Like we go out a weekend and just see what happens
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of prepping ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of good. But if we decide to go for a larger project, a bit of a more moonshot, we could potentially do a really well distributed ground game effort where
Mm-hmm.
we pick up communities members, we train them, we organize them, we deploy them to areas, we keep track of what we organize, and we can see that we can see how many people each community, each individual member of those canvassing groups registered to vote, convinced, didn't convince, etc., etc., etc.
Uh-huh. I think it would be good to maintain like to focus on the simple stuff for now. I think
Okay,
that like getting too ambitious, because the problem with being overly
No, I
ambitious
agree.
in the beginning, yeah, is that if you fail, then you feel like shit. Rather than starting simple,
No.
having some success, and then feeling super motivated.
Well, what I find very interesting, did you ever look at the survey I made? If you go 2/3 of the way down the survey, there's of the question about what things are people, what activities people are open to,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of people who are surprisingly open to canvassing, this thing,
Mm-hmm.
which based on the previous question we have about how much experience people have with this kind of like organizing, if they've ever canvassed before, a lot of people in your community have never canvassed
Mm-hmm.
or have never done so. Some people have a lot of experience, so most people don't, and I think that's a very interesting option we have here.
Sure.
A lot of people in the community want to be politically engaged, but just have no experience doing it beyond just consuming media around it. And I think that's a very strong opportunity we could activate.
That's true, although a lot more difficult to mobilize that type of stuff.
You would the bar is quite low. Like you need people who are obviously comfortable talking to strangers,
Mhm.
and but like a lot of it's gonna be a little bit of training. Like
Yeah,
I
I
can teach a
mean,
class.
and just in terms of like, for instance, like we're talking about canvassing now, right? Which we're gonna require a higher degree of training and coordination. But I'm sure there are gonna be so many groups that are gonna be working on this. Like, why would you ever canvass for Destiny, whatever, when you go canvass
Well-
for Yang or any of the other number of people that are activating down there?
Well, part of it is like people have different identity groups. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone's gonna like, and further, like part of it is people like social groups.
Mm-hmm.
People don't typically canvas alone; they canvas in groups.
Sure.
And what ends up being is like, would two DGGers want to canvas together, or would two people who met each other on the Yang campaign want to canvas together?
Sure. Yeah.
Now you might and further. Now here's the interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this community could essentially act and focus on interests that maybe other packs, other canvas groups might not go on.
Mm-hmm.
For example,
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yang or Fair Fight, for example, the really big pack down there for organizing, Stacey Abrams' group,
Mm-hmm.
arguing between the classic sort of democratic message of like reform, healthcare, voting rights, etc., etc., etc.
We can talk about gamer rights. Sorry.
Well, that's but you no, you're joking, but that's what we're going to do. We're not going to talk about gamer rights per se, but we're going to talk about the issues that are personable to this community that we can personally connect with other people about. It doesn't necessarily mean gamer rights, but we could be like, hey, if the Democrats have control of the Senate, they have FEC reform, which means that they could be more regulation of the internet industry.
Mm-hmm.
That means, hey, if the Democrats are in charge of the Senate, that means like you might not like we could go someone who might be like pro-gun, but say like, look, we understand. I empathize. This is my. I'm a Democrat. This is my perspective on guns. It's not taking your guns, and if the Democrats push take your guns, I'll be against it. And then try to convince them through like a personal conversation of saying, "Hey, you should vote for Ossoff and Warnock because even though you might be skeptical of their gun policy, all these other things are really good for you."
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah, I don't disagree maybe with this. Okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So I think the first part of the conversation should be like, so I like KPIs because they give the clearest.
I agree.
Yeah, they give the clearest indication. I'm sorry, real quick for chat. So a KPI is a key performance indicator. Basically, if you invest some amount of dollars into some type of advertising campaign, when I use the word activate, I'm talking about like starting a campaign or some sort of advertising, right? So you activate like a certain campaign or a certain person to do a campaign. A KPI, a key performance indicator, is basically like what number. Give me a number that I can look at to know that I'm doing a good job. So, for instance, a popular KPI for like internet-related advertising might be converting to a sale. So if I show a message to 1,000 people, I get 10%, or I get 10 people to sign up. That's a 1% conversion, right? That might be like a KPI, right? Sales or something. So KPIs are nice because it'd be cool if we could say like, oh, well, we invested X amount of time into this area, and look, we got like 4,000 people. Not that would, but we got like 400 people to register to vote. Like that would be like really cool. Yeah.
Totally doable. The data and technology's there, but like I can do that on the cheap. I can keep it simple, just like a little bit of like a shared spreadsheet for everyone, or we could do or an Airtable, or we could invest in software, or there's some in betweens that. Like there
What
are clear
about
KPI.
what about the a KPI of unironic Trump supporters in DGG? Should we keep them banned, or do you want me to let them loose?
Wait, what?
I'm doing unbans. Do you want Trump supporters in your chat or not?
I mean, as long as they're not posting like crazy Nazi shit, yeah, you can unban them.
Okay, so should RTBA and other people be informed that they should stop banning people just for trying to argue in favor of Trump?
No, you should never be banning people for that. That's stupid as fuck. I don't know why anybody would be doing that.
Yeah.
As long as they're not like literally like doing crazy shit or whatever, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Harris.
Hi. Bye.
No, I agree with KPIs. My only concern about hyper focusing in one area is it would be one thing if, well, Atlanta is a majority of the state's population.
I think 6 million people live in the Atlanta metropolitan area, and there's like 10 million people in the state. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's roughly about exactly 60% of the population of the state. The thing I'm trying to focus on is it better to do like a sustained event, or is it better to do a more distributed event? Like, that's the thing I would just need more data on.
You mean like having like 3 discrete events versus like an on the ground, like everyday kind of slow churning event?
Well, yeah, well, like it would be one thing if it was like we do one big event, you and the larger community of people that go out there, we do some canvassing, get some pictures, everyone canvasses, pizza's bought for everyone, something cheap, nothing super expensive. Or is it better to be like, hey, one weekend I go out there for the weekend, another weekend you go out there for the weekend or whatever, and we just coordinate this like with people working remotely. And yeah, it might only be like 10 to 15 canvassers every weekend, but like that's a lot. Like understand, like a medium-sized congressional campaign, like 10 canvassers is like solid B+ material for like a smaller campaign like this. Like if I get 10 canvassers every weekend for like the next 8 weekends, I will consider this like a fairly competent organization.
Sure.
The more, and if it means I manage it remotely, or I go out there, or someone else goes out there, then so be it. Like there are people who have reached out to me who claim to be members of the DGG community, who say like, oh, I want to volunteer. I don't know if they volunteer in more direct ways. They've expressed they've experienced. Like we could interview those processes to kind of form like community leaders on the ground. The other option is if you look at the survey, there's a decent amount of the community that live within distance of Georgia who don't necessarily live in Georgia. So we could try getting like 200 people or 100 people from all across like the southeast corner of the United States to show up on one weekend, and we just like hit the ground hard, really hard. Do an event, try to get some.
Well, what's like the more important thing? Is it to get like just voters registered, or is it to like try to like deep canvas and change people's minds?
So that's where it ends up being debate. a lot of that's going to be 2020 when we look at it. The most campaigns either adopt one strategy or the other. They try to do both, but usually they primarily focus on one. It seems that the current argument is this is not going to be a conversion election. This is going to be a turnout election, which means just reminding people.
Do you think this is something that I've seen like a lot of debate on? Although this seems to be back and forth constantly. I think we were reading David Shore gave an analysis today where he said the exact opposite, where he said Democrats have spent so much time in the past trying to do like a turnout election, but he said that like the most recent election only worked because it was getting people that voted for Trump previously to vote for Biden this time.
Are we talking? So there's one counter argument to the David Shore analysis. This election, there was almost no canvassing done. Like the reality is, in-person human contact is the only way to get people to do stuff, whether it be reminding them to show up and vote, or for that matter, convincing them.
Well, I mean, turnout was higher than it ever has been, right? Although that might have been in part due to mail-in shit, but
yeah, and we don't know how much higher it would have been with canvassing. From what we've seen, the places that had the canvassing beat their numbers. Like Georgia beat what the correction for polling error numbers because it had a decently notably turnout machine organized by Stacey Abrams and Fairpack. My opinion, and I can back this up with data. I can try to back this up with data, but of course it's one of those kind of like professional debates. Is I think on the ground canvassing is incredibly important. You can't just win the battle through pure digital advertising.
Yeah, this just seems to be like a really active, hot debate. Like I know Ilhan Omar did a fuck ton of on the ground canvassing and whatnot. People go back and forth on the effectiveness of this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think specifically canvassing works really well for reminding people to vote. It works really well for convincing people to change their mind on voting, and it works really well for registering voters. It's hard to register people to vote purely over the internet or purely through advertising. It's hard to win people. It's hard to change people's mind through advertising, and on top of that, it's not. You're semi-effective at just reminding people to vote if they were forgetting to vote through advertising. It's the only one that really works.
Sure. Okay. So getting away from all the political theory. So what? Yeah. So what should the goal be? What do you think the goal should be? What type of events should we be trying to do if we do this?
Well, okay. So part of it ends up being is what's the budget? Is this purely a outside paying for purely just
budget comes after? First question is what should we be doing? I guess.
Okay, I think what we should be doing is I want to see what happens if you say, hey everyone, all my fans, all people in my network, go to this spot in Georgia. Like that would be the soft test. Like that's like. We had a conversation about this, and you showed up in with the Santa Monica thing. Like, I want to replicate that test in Georgia, and if we do some canvassing, or if we teach a class on top of that in person or over the internet there afterwards, that would be great, to make it useful at the time. But that's the first test. We need to figure out actually how powerful you are at mobilizing people physically. Because, like, look, if only 3 people show up, like, it's not like it's nothing off your back. The reality is, it's hard to get people to show up to vote. But like, if that's what we can do, we need to change our methodology. Then we need to maybe focus on different issues. Okay. The first test needs to be how people you get to show up to a thing, or at minimum, like as we're seeing, I've done like the halfway is at least surveying the population of your audience, see how people would show up for an event, and a decent amount would. About 100 people in the state of Georgia or bordering the state of Georgia would show up for an in-person event if given proper notice. So with that, it ends up being like, okay, pick an area, a county, a district, the area around a university, and just register people to vote, or remind people to vote, or go knock on doors and vote, get people to vote. I would like to, if we're going to do that methodology, if we need to either do an organized event that's going to get people who aren't part of this audience to show up to, that might be curious to see it, and then we could activate those people there. Or if we're going to go canvassing, we can't just go blind. We can't just take 100 members of the community and just drop
run around and go. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You need to get the voter data, which means either we need to partner with a PAC, which I could probably coordinate with one PAC or another, and say like, hey, just give us some turf. I got like 30 people who just want to do it as a community, and they'll probably coordinate that. Or if we want to have more control over it, we got to file the paperwork pretty quickly to get the PAC paperwork off the ground. And then
I don't think starting a PAC and all of that sounds like a lot of paperwork and way more complicated than what I would want to.
It's not that complicated. It's no different than forming like an LLC overnight sort of thing.
I wouldn't want to form an LLC and have all that off the ground in 2 or 3 months either. That's starting to make things a lot more complicated. Unless we're doing things that require like money, like.
if perfect situation, even for like a smaller project, I would have preferred the idea of buying the data ahead time and doing it. If that's not an option, we can just organize a big event as like a, hey, register to vote. Here.
Why would we need a pack to request that data from the DNC? There's no other way we could do it.
No. The DNC won't give us the data. You have to buy the data from the state.
There's no way to work with the DNC or organize something or get like a local, like a little local group that has that would like be on ties to be able to do.
Like I said, we can partner with a pack, and that's how we would do it. We don't organize our own pack. I literally like call up like an organization like Fair Fight or Yang's group or whatever, and say, hey, we have 50 canvassers. Give us some turf to cut, and we'll just go do it. And that's what I would do. That would be the methodology we would go for.
Gotcha.
The only bit of concern would be if maybe they'd be concerned about any association with maybe a toxic character potentially. But I think at a certain scale, they're not too worried about it. We're not jumping up and down and branding this as the your name community pack. We're just like, hey, we're just.
I'm just kidding. I know what you mean. Okay.
So we're just basically we're just taking they're giving us homework. We're gonna go do it. They don't care who does it. And that's a methodology. It's simple, elegant. Again, we don't get to have a big put our name on it sort of thing. We don't get to make any money off that, but I think that's a good way to do it personally.
Sure. So you think then
something simple.
Our first. So the first thing would just be to go to Georgia and see how many people I can get. Is that something I should schedule like in a week or two, or?
Well, how much resources are you willing to how many resources are you willing to put into this? Like, do you?
The resources are very flexible. Like, I know I can raise money. Like, I'm pretty confident that if I need to, like, I could probably both through personal guaranteeing and like fundraising, I get like 100K. I'm pretty confident that I could do that.
Oh, well, I mean, if you want to do that, like, that's more than enough money to organize a pack and like have like 4 full-time organizers for like until the election day.
Sure, but I also want to make sure that what we're doing is effective. I don't want to just throw that into the wind. Okay.
So the first thing. Okay, fair enough. So the first thing I would suggest then is go to Georgia. I can make time if you want me to come with you, and we can just go to Georgia. We'll organize the event. We'll like show up on like a college campus or a block away from a college campus. The best case scenario, for the community, and we'll just see what happens. We'll buy Costco pizza for everyone that shows up, and see how many people. And I can teach a canvassing class or something like that. You could explain to you how to canvass or how to phone bank, and that would be a good way to do it for simplicity. For like the first round test.
Okay.
It ends up being what your schedule is like. The only big deadline we have, besides obviously election day being in early January, is last day to register to vote is in late November. I want to say the 28th, 26th.
Oof. So in like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's a deadline to register to vote.
Someone just told me it's December 7th. I'm not sure. At least that was my
Okay, yeah. December 7th would be way more doable. Like 2 weeks is like we're already running Yeah.
Well, like I mean, like this is not something. I mean, we talked about that. We talked about this, but like unfortunately in this country, it is very difficult to vote, or it's more difficult than it should be to vote. Okay, so Nate has generously given me the key. Oh, thank you. I had this a few days ago. I couldn't find it. So yeah. So November 18th is the earliest date to register to vote for mail. So registration deadline is December 7th.
Okay, that's cool.
More voting is the 14th, and the runoff election day is January 5th.
That's how long to vote? It's till January 5th for the runoff election?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Way more time. Cool. Okay.
One of the big things we could do, and this is something we debate, this might be a little bit more interesting, that's not just going ground game, is we could try phone banking. And that's a little bit easier. It ends up being, you still have to purchase the data, but we could do that.
Easier, but I've heard that phone banking is like super not really that effective. I don't know if... It's
not, but if we're trying to figure out a way to engage like community members in Northern California, this is the way we could do it.
This is why I'm really big on like the KPI, and this is why I'm really big on focusing on like a particular district, is because I think it would be really cool, even if it's like an itty bitty tiny thing that we edge out, like a population like 1,500 area, like flipping that from like +2 Trump to like +2 R to +1 D, I think would be a really, really, really cool thing to do, to be a part of that, I think.
So would you rather focus on like a very small rural commute, like a smaller town that's in like that's out in the boonies that no one's gonna bother, and just try to win them over personally? 'Cause,
Potentially,
like,
yeah.
that's
Just having like some measurable impact, I think would be really, really, really cool. Rather than like, oh, like we phone baked in Atlanta, where like 750 million other dollars worth of advertising are being poured into to like phone bake and everything for. I think would be cool. Not to say that we wouldn't be effective. I just I'm looking
no,
for
no,
like
no.
some kind of like feelable return. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that
I
small
want
either,
more.
I
I would
guess.
want more. I would want more. I would want more data, but like that's doable. I like even like looking at the survey. I got county district, and there are certain individual districts that are more rural that have more larger members of the community. Like Fulton. Where's Fulton County? Fulton County at 7.
Ooh, Fulton was one of the was one of the super blue ones that we were waiting on. I remember the
Oh yeah, that's a
right. I
suburb.
think so.
Okay.
Right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't. I haven't. I have. I was gonna let the survey at least run for a week before I started doing too much data analysis on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
You're gonna get the majority of the lion's share of your response are gonna be like in day 1, 2, and 3, and then past that, I imagine it's gonna taper off quite a bit.
well, yeah, but like I wanted to like at least give it a week.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it not to be too passive aggressive. It never got pinned on the Reddit.
Oh fuck! You should have just messaged me. Fuck! I didn't actually see the post on the Reddit. I just saw the thing. If you message me tonight and remind me of it, if you put something in my DM or email me, I'll always get it done. But if you say things to me, I can forget it. Yeah, message me.
I'm
I can
sorry.
put it.
I thought you wanted me to delegate. I thought you meant to like delegate to me to go message a moderator. But
I don't even know who else mods besides Forethought, and Forethought hates voting. So I'm just kidding. I'm fucking.
Well, that would explain it.
No, I'm yeah, but yeah, message me in here and I can pin it tonight. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, like, what would be interesting would be like if I had to like take a shot in the dark as like an interesting community to try to focus on, it would be like I think is Oglethorpe is the really like Oglethorpe's a very like rural city, but it's near Chattanooga, so it's like we could activate whatever DGGers are in Chattanooga, which is a more urbanized area, but we could mobilize them to come out and show up to vote in or show up to like organize people in like a smaller community on the Georgia side
Sure.
or something like that. Like
Somebody
like a small community that we could focus on.
There was a guy that I don't know if it was in your thread, but there was a guy that posted a very interesting write-up on like his analysis of like districts that had gone a certain way and stuff that would be easily
Yeah,
flippable.
there have been some. There's been a lot of that. That unfortunately, like obviously we could focus on that, but I want if we're gonna go to a district, I want at least one DGGer in that district before we jump into it. Like
Yeah, for sure.
It makes it easier to figure out like what kind of ground game I'm working with. You don't go somewhere you don't know anyone with. But I agree. No, he or she was mostly accurate in their analysis. I could debate some points because there just isn't. We don't have all the data yet, but for the most part they were pretty accurate.
How big? Georgia's a pretty big place, isn't it?
Like geographically speaking,
Like if we go to one end of Georgia, it's potentially it's a possibility that there are a lot of people that live in Georgia that won't go because it could be like to drive from one end of that state to the other is like 6 to 8 hours or some shit, isn't it? Or is it longer?
it's like I think at the widest points it's 340 miles. So that's like a 6-hour drive, 8-hour drive, depending on traffic.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like I've done worse, but that's just me. That's just me working in the Midwest on campaign.
Strategically speaking, picking someplace nearish the center-ish, I guess, would be kind of probably good too.
The two to three population centers are Atlanta, Savannah, and Columbus. This ends up being just picking which one. Plus, there's the Florida border near Jacksonville and the Northwest tip near Chattanooga. But overall, most of the population's in around the Atlanta suburbs, and then the supermajority of the airport population is around the Savannah suburbs. Like I guess you could fly, but that'd be spending a bit much money just to save the drive.
Sure.
What, you don't like road tripping?
I've driven more than anybody in this whole fucking chat, so I don't mind road tripping. I've driven back and forth from Omaha to Miami like 6 times, and from Omaha to LA like 3 or 4 times. So I mean, I don't mind driving, but
I love road tripping. I mean, so many people on the campaign hate it, and it's just like, no, that's the best part. Like, just playing music, driving.
as long as I'm driving and I'm in control of the driving and the radio, I don't mind. But if I have to I don't think I could road trip riding with somebody. I don't think I could handle that. Other people's driving antagonizes the fuck out of me, and listening to other people's music drives me crazy. But yeah, no. Okay.
I'll make sure to not drive on your behalf.
It's all good. Don't worry. Okay. I guess tonight, if you could give me like 2 or 3 places to choose from that you think would be a good place to see where we can get people to meet up at, I will figure out a time in my schedule maybe next week or within like 10 days, hopefully, I guess, to fly down and hang out for a day or 2.
Do you want me to come with you?
If I don't mind, I'm just trying to think of in terms of being nice to your schedule. I'm pretty flexible on what I do.
Oh, I don't
I mean,
care,
if you're
man.
able to, then yeah, sure. But
My job, I'm done with the Biden campaign. The campaign's over. They didn't need us to go and fight the Republicans in the streets. I'm free. I can do whatever I like for the next like year before I need to do another. I have to work on another campaign.
sure. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, yeah, just let me know in Discord, and then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I told you, like I'm excited about this. Like I think, like I believe this is a great opportunity to like mobilize people for like good in a way that we haven't seen before. Like of course I need to want to see this through.
Sure. Yeah.
If you want like a little bit of fun, what do you think are the biggest issues for your community based on the
Puberty.
Pew research on for like I did a fun question where it's like, what are your top issues as a voter? These options are taken from the Pew 2020 election survey.
How many options are there? Can you read them to me, or do you want me to look at them? Or
Economy, healthcare, Supreme Court appointments, coronavirus, violent crime, foreign policy, gun policy, race and ethnic inequality, immigration, economic inequality, climate change, abortion, education.
I'm gonna guess healthcare is at the top 3. Am I right?
So here's at the top 3 at 25%.
Yep. I'm gonna guess coronavirus is in top 3.
Net correct. At 19%.
I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say I'm gonna say the Supreme Court one is in the top 3.
Nope.
Is it the race? Oh, climate change. Okay, gotcha. All right.
But this is what I found kind of interesting. Number 4 was economy.
Okay.
Number 5 was economic inequality at 7.9%. And then it was, what was the next one? None.
Oh, like they just didn't fill that part in, maybe?
Yeah, although Pepe got 2%.
Okay, well, Pepe voters are pretty upset, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Make sure to bring. Yeah. Okay. Can I ask out of curiosity, like, what made you want to do this? Like, we've talked about like mobilizing people, but like, what made you specifically think like I'm gonna go and get people to show up in this RIP base?
I think it's a lot more easy to make a difference than I'd previously thought.
No, that's simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okie
so
dokie.
we'll see what we can do. And then also it would be like a really cool way to have like some actual impactful, I basically engage in like political hobbyism. Like that's kind of what my job is. So having like an effective, being effective, like politically effective, I think would be cool. That would just be something that'd be really fun for me. I think would be cool to say like that district or whatever. Like I think that there was an unprecedented amount of people feeling responsible for their votes. Like I think people were personally feeling bought into like, oh shit, like I'm from fucking Wayne County and that vote was really important. And I did that. There were stories on Reddit where it's like, oh, like this district like had like a 2-vote difference and I drove like 2 hours to be able to vote at my polling place or whatever. Like I think people felt like pretty personally bought in. So I like that idea. I think that's cool.
Okay. I'll try to capture that. If anyone in chat or listening to this voice that isn't Steven wants to talk to me about something involving this work, you can message me on Twitter there, and I will respond to it if it's not something weird or asking for nude pictures. And outside of that, thank you for your time. I'll get to work on some analysis.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed. We can talk about gamer rights.